I'm Anne Stewart. I'm Senior Curator of Art at the Ulster Museum, and I'm talking about the exhibition WILLIE DOHERTY WHERE. Well, it's a very ambitious exhibition. It's an exhibition we've been hoping to organise for really many years. And so it's in effect a retrospective of WILLIE DOHERTY's work really over the past 4 decades. So we begin in the 1980s, it's in 4 rooms, and the second room looks at 1990s, the border, and the third room looks at the international aspect of his work that's developed following the 1990s, but also what's really important, I think, and rare, is the opportunity to see 11 video works interspersed in 6 separate video installation spaces throughout the exhibition. So you're walking between photography and video, and you're able to move back and forward between those media, and so you're really getting very in-depth and really very dense and structured view of WILLIE DOHERTY's practice. Well, the title started off with the co-curation with Modena in Italy as Where, Dove, which Dove is Italian for where. And when we're showing it in the Ulster Museum, we're calling it Where because it makes much more sense in English, whereas Where Dove, the dual language, made much more sense in Modena. And it's been very interesting working with WILLIE, with my co-curator Daniele de Luigi in Modena, because language is so central to WILLIE DOHERTY's practice, both in text over written on photographic work, but also significantly his video work and with voiceover and with the spoken word in videos. So dealing with it in 2 languages has also been interesting. It's been very interesting co-curating with an Italian curator in the time of pandemic. And it was in fact even more interesting for me because the initial 3 months when we were co-curating, I was actually in Italy in lockdown there. So whilst in the same country as my co-curator, completely divided by a whole series of very complex borders that had just been constructed. Literally, as days unfolded, new borders appeared around us. And so this gave us both the opportunity to look in depth at WILLIE's work, to almost in a sense reevaluate it, and we were so struck by the prescience of many of the themes he dealt with and the ideas that he dealt with, which grew out of his experience of the Troubles, but were seamlessly translated to the idea of the pandemic and the newly unimagined borders that we were dealing with. So it was a very interesting period to be working on it, and certainly I think it's altered our perceptions about it, made it much more, in a sense, it drew together the international aspect, because when we started thinking about it, it was very much to make the connections between Italy and Northern Ireland, and showing WILLIE DOHERTY's work in Italy, where there was a real interest because of his work at Venice Biennales, but there hadn't been a major exhibition. And then almost as a result of the pandemic, it was drawn together into a sort of seamless exhibition that seemed to operate in 2 places almost simultaneously. So the borders that we started thinking about were not the borders that we ended up thinking about. So it was just a very interesting process, really, as it unfolded. Well, this was the really great opportunity for the exhibition, because in the centenary of partition, it's a very important moment to be looking at the border and to be looking at borders, but also so much of his work is about psychological borders and, I suppose, imagined fault lines, imagined borders, which are almost impossible to cross because they're very much of our own perceptions and our own creations. And so that idea of the self-created border and the self-created demarcations that surround us and surround our perceptions, it's very much part of WILLIE's work as well. And so being able to walk between the video installations, which are immersive and really challenge us to cross our own borders and address maybe ideas or concepts that are perhaps difficult, and then to look at photographic work being more 2-dimensional. So in a sense, the whole construct of the exhibition is playing with our perceptions in that way. So it's taking Willie's practice very much as the basis of all the ideas that have gone into this, but using it and trying to sort of tease out our own perceptions and giving them the sort of physical manifestations in how the exhibition's organised. So we've been fortunate in that the creation of 6 separate video installation spaces, each showing very different video works, has been able to sort of give the viewer a much sort of more in-depth view of the practice, that it's not just a single installation, single screen, it's 2 screens or it's 2 monitors. So we're very much playing with our perceptions, and they're challenged and expanded as you go into each different space. Being able to show it in the Ulster Museum, which is such a dense and rich and layered collection, which goes back to prehistoric times, and so you've got a layering of experience and accumulation of this place, which is what the Ulster Museum is. And so to be able to show Willie's work through 4 galleries, almost on top of this densely packed resonating collection, was always something that we wanted to do at any time, but in the centenary of partition, it's almost the most intense and sort of most resonant time to do it.